Hello friends, Karen here with your Breathe, Move, and Be Yoga Break with Full of Hope Yoga. This week, let's continue to explore self-compassion with our yoga practice. Let's see if we can give up expectations about how we think we should experience our breathing, our moving, our meditating. Let's give up the supposed to's for a curious and observant stance that asks, what works for me? So let's see about our experience with centering, feeling grounded, when we're breathing to get present or breathing to calm down. Let's be curious and observant about what is working for me in this, okay? So as we center, breathe, and move, we're going to focus on noticing this, and then we're going to make a choice based on how we feel. And in the trauma-informed world, that's called taking effective action. Okay, so are you ready? Let's get started. Now, as we begin our practice, as we always do, with getting still, it's a practice of centering. Notice what is helpful for you to feel and become centered, present in this very moment. Is it helpful to focus on how you physically are experiencing this present moment, noticing the ground under your feet, the sturdiness of the chair? Is it helpful for you to use your senses of feel, hearing, and sight? Just notice what works for you to feel present in this moment. Maybe allowing sounds from another room to come into your awareness field. Focusing on the temperature of the air on your skin. Do you like to use your sight, visual observations to get present, like being aware of what is directly in front of you, picking an object and really dissecting its color, shape, size. Maybe that helps you be very present in this moment. We've used the visualization and the mantra, I am here. Notice if that's helpful for you to visualize the words in your mind. I am here. Good. Now let's move into breathing. Notice if your body feels like it needs some movement before going into breathing. Maybe the shoulders, we do move our shoulders a lot. Maybe you start to just have this natural instinct that your body telling you what it needs. Maybe it feels good to start to move your neck. So again, you've got this curious, observant stance about yourself, how you feel, what works for you. So maybe it's nice to move around a little before we focus on breath. Okay, to focus on the breath, sometimes we put our hands on our heart or a hand on the heart. That can be helpful. We can focus on drawing in a ratio breath, 2 to 1, like drawing into 2. Releasing to 4. Is it helpful to do that with your hand on your lungs? Breathing in, releasing out. What works for you? To feel the warmth of your hand across your chest as you breathe? To count for an inhale and count for an exhale? This is time for you to practice and notice what works for you. Using the breath to feel centered and present in this moment. Good. Now if your hand was on your chest, maybe you'd like to let it fall to the top of your legs. And let's go to neck stretching. So maybe it feels good to move the shoulders before we stretch the neck. It's been our routine, but maybe that doesn't work for you. You're going to stretch the neck. So moving in any direction that feels good. And then noticing an edge, like that place where your body says, that's good, stop there. And when you're there, maybe you want to pulse that, kind of pulse into your edge. Or maybe you like to static hold and breathe in your edge. Focusing on the stretch you feel in the body. And again, we can try that, moving your head a different way, the opposite direction, and notice is that you feel that edge. Does it feel good to hold it, really getting that stretch? Maybe it'd be helpful to kind of pulse into your edge and think about your breath. What's it like? How does your breath integrate into the movement? Maybe you just prefer a fluid, stretch one direction, stretch the other. And then think, notice, how do you want to incorporate your breathing? An inhale and an exhale with the way you stretch your neck. Good. Now for the movement part of our class, choose to sit or stand up. We've done this for a while. Maybe you'd like to stay on your chair, or maybe it feels better for you to stand up and get your movement, feeling it through. Now, how do you ground down? Notice the ground under your feet as you're sitting and as you're standing. What do you like to do with your hands? Are they nice and are they open, palms towards me? So having movement to our spine, if we were to draw our arms up and then twist, noticing how we like to incorporate the breath and the movement. I think we did this yesterday. We can try and see, maybe when we have the arms out and we twist in the chair, notice how that also is a nice movement and stretch for the spine. And again, maybe it's a static hold and you breathe. Or maybe it's a little pulse. Notice what works for you to stretch your spine. Finding that other direction. Again, it's like a static hold. You feel the edge of your stretch and breathe. Or maybe it's a pulse, also with the breath. Or maybe it works better for you. Move and breathe fluidly. That feels like a good way to stretch and experience your spine in this moment. And good, back to center, letting the hands come down. And I think your body will start to tell you, when you notice, when you listen to your body, it's going to tell you what it needs. Good, so coming back, sitting down if you were standing. Now let's find our meditation posture. So what works for you to feel comfortable but supported, and then also what works for you to feel released? Or maybe you don't want to feel released. Maybe you prefer to kind of have an upright and attentive posture for meditation. What works for you? Just notice. Maybe becoming aware of your quickened heart rate and your breath from the movement. Just being aware how that feels for you. Maybe it's invigorating to get the breath and the heart rate up. I like to stay with that invigorating feeling of just being awake, attentive, and alive. Maybe you could choose to continue to breathe deeply. Or maybe what works for you is to notice how you can slow down your heart rate by purposely slowing down your breathing. And drawing in that breath, feeling it at the top, and kind of that hanging on to the heart, hanging on to the breath at the top, and letting it go. Notice what works for you and make a choice how you'd like to breathe through this meditation. Maybe allowing your senses to come to your feet. How do you sense them now that we're sitting in meditation? How do you sense the back of your hips? Does it work for you to feel grounded, really stable? Or that thought of releasing, softening each hip, the right and the left. And what works for you? Is it feeling a length in your spine and an openness for your breath? Or do you like that release idea and the release of the shoulders and the head and the neck? Just notice what works for you. For ending this 15-minute yoga break. Back into a still posture. And noticing if the stillness of the posture It relates to how you breathe. And what works for you in terms of bringing thoughts or prayers or mantras to your mind. Maybe a self-compassion thought of, it's okay, I'm going to be okay, works for you today. Maybe it's helpful to just visualize, remembering just this time and place and space for yourself in this moment of I am here. Maybe a breath prayer of it is well with my soul. It's what works for you to end our time of breathing, moving, and just being. And then moving from a state of just being with the breath, we'll actively draw in a larger breath and letting your body do what it naturally does to bring in that deeper breath and to maybe release the breath and release the body. What works for you to feel that connection to the ground again, the awareness of yourself in this space. What works for you? Maybe turning your head both directions and noticing what's in your line of vision, and maybe it feels good to just give some last movements to the neck, stretching. Good. And then let's breathe in together. Drawing the hands overhead, connecting hands overhead, and then exhale down. Hands heart center. Great work, my friends. Wonderful practice. Thank you for joining me, following along with this concept of you get to notice what you notice, and you get to make choices based on how you feel. You get to choose. Until we can move and breathe again tomorrow, let's be safe and well and full of hope. Shalom.